Irene, like most girls in her late teens, argued with her mother. She thought she was always right. She tried to tell Irene what to do with her life. And Irene resented it. Just because her mother was a powerful sorceress didn't mean that she had to be one too. She was determined to go through life, not relying on magic as her mother did. That made you weak. She wanted to earn her way through life. She was an idealist. Yes, she had learned of her powers and had done some things with them. But not for years now. He wanted to hang out with her friends. They'd all think she was some kind of freak if they knew what she could do. No. No powers. No magic. That was not for her. And having her mom always nagging her to work on developing her powers, well, that just made her even more determined not to ever use them again. Little did she know that one day in the future, fate would make her change her mind. Irene was at a party with a bunch of kids from her college, where she was a freshman. It was awesome that the cool kids had asked her to party with them, and her friend Laura too. They were having a blast. Talking, dancing, and flirting with all the cute guys. Being a college party, a lot of the parties were drinking. Laura and Irene were underage though, so they abstained at first. But when person after person kept offering them drinks, and they felt like the only people there left out, they decided that they would each have just one drink. That would be safe. A cute guy named Randy brought them glasses filled with a fruity red liquid. "What's this?" said Laura. "Juice, rum, some other stuff. They're good." The girls drank up. It went down easy. But it had a kick. They could both feel the effects of the alcohol quickly, since neither of them had really drank much before. They loosened up and continued to party. But about 15 minutes later, there was a problem. "I don't feel so good," said Laura. "I just had half a glass. Why do I feel like I can't stand up? I need to lay down. I need to go to sleep." "I feel like that too," said Irene. "My eyelids are like lead." Said Randy, with a smile on his face. "Let me take you to my room so you can lay down." He put Irene in his arms, and she slumped forward into them. Another boy was with Laura, taking her away. Irene thought it was sweet, how he was taking care of them. But when they got to his room, he locked the door. That caught her attention. And after he laid her down, he started undressing. Irene wanted to scream out. But her body was all but paralyzed now. She could feel herself starting to slip into a deep, deep sleep. This boy, who she had thought was so nice, was going to try to take advantage of her. And someone was doing the same to Laura. Instinct took over. Despite her vow never to use magic again, Irene just did it. She magically transformed the powerful drug in her system into a harmless saline solution. Then she did the same for Laura, who she sensed was in the next room. She was still laying there, pretending to be asleep. She wanted to be really sure of Randy's intentions before she did something. She waited until he came over to her, and tried to pull down her skirt. Then she did it. She rose up and cast a very powerful spell on him and the boy in the next room with Laura. First, she immobilized Randy, so he could not move. Then she made his friend come to Randy's room. She let him in and locked the door again. "You have committed a great crime, trying to drug and take advantage of two young helpless girls. You will pay for this." Both young men wanted to scream out, but they were frozen. Something really weird was going on, and their eyes betrayed their inner fear. They were spooked. "I place a curse upon you both." They both shook with fear. What was she doing to them? When you do see a girl, you will be overcome with an overwhelming desire for one thing, to wear panties. Only that thought will be with you, and you cannot get it out of your mind. Panties? That didn't sound too bad. But having an inner desire to wear them, that was not good for a guy. Randy didn't want to believe it. But he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything. He was forced to be quiet and listen to her. And finally, if you ever do wear panties, you will change. You will become a beautiful young woman. Become a woman? That was the worst possible threat for a guy. Both young men were very scared now. You are cursed now. The curse cannot be lifted. Except by me. I expect for you to treat me and Laura very kind from now on. Like queens, or goddesses. And if you talk to anyone about the curse, other than each other, you will immediately become women. Do I make myself clear? They both stood mute. Oh, that's right. You're both powerless to move. Because I control you. Goodbye, boys. I wonder if next time I see you, you will be girls already? She laughed and walked out of the room to find and comfort Laura. Irene, what happened? I think they drugged us, but then all of a sudden, it wore off. Yes, we were lucky. Let us get out of here, said Irene. They left to return to the girls' dorm, where they would hang out with the other co-eds and talk all night. Dude, I can move again, said Doug. Me too, said Randy. What was that? What did that chick do to us? I don't know. I don't believe in curses. But how did she just wake up like that? And we were like frozen and stuff, and couldn't move. I don't know, dude. Maybe she's right. No way. Look, let us go round up some babes, and see what happens to us. She said we won't be interested in girls anymore. So let us see. Good idea. They went back out into the party. There were plenty of hot college babes there. Randy looked at one with long red hair. She was wearing a little black dress, and he got a really good look at her parts. She was hot. But he didn't feel anything. Normally, seeing a foxy babe like that would get him interested right away. But nothing. He tried looking at the blonde, staring at her long legs and her tight little skirt. Nothing. He began to panic. Doug was having the same problem. None of the girls dancing were doing a thing for him. Something was very wrong. But worse of all, there was a thought that entered his head. He saw the hot babe in the red miniskirt, and he thought one thing. I want to wear her panties. When he thought that, immediately something came over him. He was excited by her. This wasn't by her panties. He was interested by thinking of wearing her panties. It was just like that girl said. When she cursed him. Inside, Randy was discovering the same thing. He was really interested by the thought of wearing the panties from the babe he was scoping out. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He just had to get her panties and put them on. At any cost. Dude, what are you think of? Whispered Randy into Doug's ear. That chick. I want to wear her. Yeah, me too. This is bad, dude. Really bad. To try and get their minds off of wearing panties. They tried returning to their rooms. But now that the thought was in their heads, they just couldn't get rid of it. Like when you're thinking of some stupid song, and it keeps playing over and over in your head. They both kept thinking more and more about wearing panties. Both Doug and Randy went back out to the party. Slammed some beers as fast as they could. Then went to bed so they could get some sleep. And try to forget about everything. After a week, Doug thought he was going crazy. Morning, noon, night, even in his sleep. He was always thinking about wearing panties. The girl he was seeing was about to dump him because he couldn't do anything for her anymore. Randy fared no better. He was really upset that he couldn't perform. His main squeeze was about to drop him too. You don't love me anymore. She whined as she massaged him. I'm sorry, babe, it isn't you. It's me. Yes, because you're seeing someone else. I don't turn you on anymore. You think I'm fat? No, babe, it's nothing like that. I'm just having a problem. I'll go get some help or something. You're 20 years old, Randy. You don't need help. This isn't something physical. It's in your mind. Unless you can decide that you really love me. I guess we should stop seeing each other for a while. Randy was heartbroken. He was losing his girlfriend, and he didn't know how to stop her from leaving him. He laid there and watched as she took off in a huff. She was so upset and left so quickly. She had pulled on her jeans without putting on her panties. They lay on the floor, right in front of Randy's bed. Immediately, he became interested. He looked at the panties, and more than anything, he wanted to wear them. He had been thinking about it for days. And now, he had a pair, right there. He sat up, reached down. They were pastel purple, soft and had a lacy trim. There was a little bow in the front. He had always liked it when his girlfriend wore them. Because it looked like she had a gift under there for him. Almost without thinking, Randy put his foot into the hole in the left side of the panty. Then he put his right foot in too. The panties were down around his ankles, but he was overwhelmed with a massive feeling of pleasure from just doing that. He knew what that witch of the girl had threatened if he wore the panties. There was no way he wanted to be a chick. But it felt so good to have them down at his ankles like this. Way better than an orgasm. He decided that he wouldn't actually wear them. He'd just pull them up a little, to see how it felt. He moved them up to his knees, and wow! He had to sit down. The rush he felt inside was so intense, beyond words. It was like his mind didn't want to, but his body did. He moved them up to the middle of his thighs. Wave after wave of awesome rush went through him. He edged them up another notch, and the elastic waistband lightly rubbed against him. Just from that touch, he thought he was going to become happy. Just from that light touch. He had to close his eyes and lean his head back. The panties worked their way up higher still. They were almost in position. He pulled them up. But he held out the elastic waistband. So he wasn't wearing them. But the rush that ensued was so strong that he let out an involuntary moan. Then covered his mouth with his hands, as if to try and keep it in. Snap! The elastic closed around his waist. He was wearing the panties now. Randy looked down at himself. His normal man-style behavior was becoming rather strange. His panties now appeared to be propped up. He reached down to take them off before it was too late. However, his arms were stuck at his side, and they would not move. His head was stuck looking down. And the tent pole which was once his pride and joy could be seen rapidly shrinking. Smaller. Smaller. And smaller. In seconds, there was no tent pole whatsoever. They were laying flat against him. Randy gasped for breath, as he looked down to see his rapidly shrinking tummy. It was getting smaller. But at the same time, his hips were getting wider. He could feel the same of his butt changing, getting rounded, with more padding. This effect was traveling upwards, towards his head. His chest started swelling. Slowly at first. Then faster and faster. His nipples got larger. The dark ring of color around them spread out bigger and bigger. All the time this was taking place, the mounds of flesh on his chest got bigger and bigger. They seemed too large now. Why weren't they stopping? A temporary tightness hit Randy on his throat. As his Adam's apple disappeared, and the length of his vocal cords shortened. So that his voice would now be much higher in pitch. His chin felt funny. His jawline was changing. His face ached, as his nose got smaller. His cheekbones higher and more prominent. Even the shape of his face around his eyes was changing. He couldn't see himself in the mirror. But he sensed that he was becoming pretty. As he looked down, he could now see the locks of hair from his head. as they lengthened and spilled down past his shoulders onto his chest. They ticked his chest, which was now completely devoid of hair. It looked like a girl's chest now. Because Randy was no longer a guy. He was indeed a girl. "Hello, Randy," said a voice. Irene's voice. Or should I say Stacy? Because that's your name, now that you're a girl. She wasn't there, but he was hearing her voice in his head. "Take off your panties, Stacy," she said. His hands went down and pulled off the panties. Then he put his hands over his large breasts, feeling their weight. "Stacy, listen to me," said Irene. "You cannot help but listen to me, and what I say. Relax. Take a deep breath. Breath in, and out. In and out. You are calm. You are relaxed. Your mind is at peace. You are numb inside. Your mind is empty and blank, with no thoughts now. It is an empty sheet of paper, to be written on." Stacy just stared ahead into space. She was calm and relaxed. All she sensed now was the voice she heard in her head. "Feel me in your head," said Irene's voice. "My words in your head. My words are becoming your thoughts. It is not me speaking them, it is you. Listen to my words, as they become your thoughts." Stacy was helpless now, ready to be reprogrammed now. "I am a girl," said Irene. To Stacy, it was as if she had thought that herself. "I am a girl. I am Stacy. I have always been a girl. And I love being a girl, more than anything. I love to dress in sexy clothes. I love to wear miniskirts. I love to wear makeup. I love being pretty." These thoughts were all etching themselves into Stacy's mind. Irene continued with her reprogramming. "I am a girl. I am female. I need love. I need a relationship. I need a man. I just have to have a guy. I feel so lonely by myself, and only a guy can make me feel happy. I want to be really pretty, so I can attract a cute guy. That's why I love to dress up this what." Stacy still stood there, as the thoughts entered her head. Her thoughts. "Stacy, listen to me," said Irene's voice. "I will let you go now. You can think of independent thoughts again. You will remember everything from your former life. But your new thoughts are the truth. Your old memories must be wrong if they conflict with the thoughts that are in your head now." Suddenly, Stacy could move. She looked around. She saw a man's t-shirt on the bed and quickly threw it on. An exciting thought came into her head. What if a guy walked in on her, and saw her like that? She smiled. She needed a guy. It would be really cool if she could find one now. But didn't she used to like girls? Somehow, she remembered being attracted to girls. Liking guys would be wrong then. But no, she had to be wrong about that. Because just thinking about being with a guy, that turned her on so much. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. "Come in," she said, in her high-pitched girlish voice. Doug walked into the room and did a double-take when he saw the hot chick standing there. "How'd you get in here? Where's Randy?" "Randy?" That name meant something to Stacy. Randy. Randy. It was so familiar. Had that been her nickname when she was younger? She had always been a girl, she was sure of it. So why would her name ever have been Randy? She was all confused. Seeing this hot guy, she could hardly think. She wanted him. Doug caught a glimpse of something then, that sent a chill up his spine. On this girl's arm, there was a tattoo. Randy's tattoo. They had gone out and gotten them together. He would recognize Randy's tat anywhere. It had to be that one. No, it couldn't be. Randy wouldn't have worn panties, and let himself be turned into a woman by the curse. No way. "Miss, can you turn to the side? I need to see your knee." "What's the matter, Doug?" Don't you recognize your old pal Stacy? She said. Doug looked at her knee. She had the same scar that Randy had. It was from when they were freshmen, and Randy played on the softball team. He had blown out his knee and had an operation. That was his scar and his tattoo on this girl Stacy. Stacy, do you remember going on the road trip to state last month? How could I forget, gushed Stacy. We got so wasted. What did I do that night? You went with this chick and you dumped me. I had to bum a ride home. The two stared at each other. Doug knew for sure now. This hot chick named Stacy used to be Randy. And for her part, Stacy stared back at Doug. They used to be best friends. She was sure of it. But it was almost as if she had been a guy, because of all the things they had done together. But she was a girl. She was confused. How could she know all these things about him? What was wrong with her? She was twirling her hair with her finger, as she looked down. She had stepped on the panties laying on the floor. She picked them up, so she could put them on. Don't come near me with those, said Doug to her harshly. What, they're just panties. They won't bite, said Stacy. Get away from me, said Doug, completely terrified. What, afraid of a girl, giggled Stacy. She walked closer to him. She wanted him badly. Doug stared on in amazement. This was the hottest chick he had ever seen in his life. And she was offering herself to him. All he could think of was wearing her panties. That, and the fact that this chick used to be Randy. That bothered him a bit, too. Your panties, he said, trying to explain to his friend. They excite me. Oh, you like them, she replied. She tossed her panties in Doug's direction. No, he screamed, as he ran from the room. What got into him, said Stacy. She shrugged her shoulders. This is the boys' dorm. She would just go door to door. There had to be some guys here, and they would all want her. She would be happy tonight. She was going to bag herself a guy. Irene smiled. Now she knew. As soon as she sensed that Randy was now playing for the other team, she knew that he was the follower, not the leader. His fate was bad enough, but it would go down worse for Doug. She wouldn't be as nice and as kind to him. He organized it, so he would suffer far worse than Randy had. He was smart enough or strong enough to still be out there, and contain his urges. Irene knew it was just a matter of time. However, she decided to tip the scales, by going to a website, where she enrolled Doug in the Panty of the Month Club. For a fee, which she paid, they would send a different sexy panty to him each month, in a brown paper bag. She paid extra for rush delivery, so it was only 2 days later when his first panty arrived. Doug wondered who had sent him a package. Maybe something from home. He opened it up, and reached inside to pull out the contents. He looked down, and found that he was holding a pair of panties in his hand. The thing he had been trying to avoid at all costs, he was holding them. And he was already aroused beyond description. Doug's hand trembled, as it touched the soft silky material. He gasped for breath as they saw the white lacy edges. He had to put them on. How could he not? He was so overwhelmed with desire. He was already pulling down his pants. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't make himself. It was like making yourself stop falling, after you've already gone over the handlebars on your bike. It was useless to resist any longer. He could not. He needed to wear panties, in the same way he needed to breathe. You can only stop yourself from doing it for a time. Then you have to give in, as your unconscious response takes over. Soon, he was pulling the panties on, gasping as they made close contact with his skin. The feelings rushing all over him were overwhelming. He never felt so good before in all his life. He looked into the mirror, to admire the changes going on all throughout his body. He smiled when he saw that the panties were now flat against him, with no more unsightly bulge. They looked much prettier that way. His large breasts pushed out under his shirt, which pulled up high enough from their bulkiness to expose his belly button. His hips were wide now, his skin soft, his hair long, his face pretty. All just like Randy had experienced. However, Randy had one great advantage. Irene reprogrammed his mind so that he accepted being a woman. She reprogrammed him to believe that he had been born female. With Doug, she was not as generous. Doug stood before the mirror, and only one single thought bloomed in his mind. It started small, then got larger and louder. As the urge to wear the panties, it was overwhelming and all-consuming. Just one thought. I like men. Doug tried to hide himself. He was a hot babe now. Hotter than even Randy had turned out. His new female body scared him. But not as much as the fact that in his mind, he realized that he liked boys. He loved them. He wanted one. Randy identified herself as she. Almost right away. But not Doug. Inside, he was still Doug. Only his body was female now. And his preference for a partner. He tried to quiet his thoughts. But he could not. Even alone in his room. He got all hot and bothered. Just from thinking of guys. Seeing his male underwear on the floor got him excited. Thinking that there would be a naked guy nearby. He was completely gone. The new thoughts ringing loudly in his head. And he couldn't handle it. It was a double blow. Losing his manhood and his body. Along with now desiring to be with a man. Overpowered by estrogen and other female sex hormones. He could not control his unbelievably strong emotions now. And he burst out in tears. He had to do something. Maybe it would help to talk to Randy. Randy had just gone through the same thing, and had become Sissy. She seemed to have adjusted. How did she do it? A few minutes later, Sissy arrived at the door. There was no hint about this vibrant young woman. That she had ever been male. Doug looked at her. Not believing that she had once been his male friend. Look at me, sobbed Doug. Look what happened to me. Cool, said Sissy. Cool? What do you mean? I'm a guy. But my body. Your body is really cute. A lot of girls would die to have a gorgeous body like yours. You are everything that most of us wish we could be. You say we. Like you're a girl. I am silly. Just look at me. But don't you remember being a guy? Well, sort of. But I remember growing up as a girl. So I think those are false memories. The male ones, that is. No. You were a guy. We were friends. We still are friends. She said, squeezing Doug's hand. Look. When you changed, and became Sissy. How did you handle it? How did you accept your body changing, and all of that? Well, every girl who goes through puberty has a stage where she hates her body. But over time, as you grow and start to become a woman. No. I mean changing from male to female. How do you adjust to that? I've always been female, said Sissy. Wondering what was so wrong with this girl. She was talking all crazy. Go, said Doug, crying again. Just go. Reluctantly, Sissy left her friend behind to quietly sob away. When Doug's tears finally dried up, he had only one option left. As much as he hated to do it, he knew who was responsible for all this. Irene. He swallowed his pride, and called her. Irene, this is Doug. We need to talk. Doug? This sounds like a girl. Not that hunky guy Doug. Is this some kind of joke? Don't play around. Not now, snapped Doug. Just get over here. We need to talk. Okay, take it easy. That time of the month, huh? I'll be there in a few. CYA, babe. She hung up. leaving Doug feeling the sting of being called babe. And thinking that he would soon really have that time of the month. And all that it implied. Before he knew it, he was crying again. Irene knocked on the door and entered. She found Doug laying face down on the bed, arms over his head, still crying tiny sobs. She locked the door and walked in. "So Doug, what is it you wanted to tell me?" she asked. "Please help me," he said. "Change me back. I don't know how you did it, but I know it was you. Please. I can't take this." "I don't think you've quite learned your lesson," said Irene. "I didn't even hear a heartfelt apology for what you did. I'm sorry." "Please," said Doug. "Now you're sorry. I'm supposed to just accept it. Like you really mean it? How many other women did you drug and take advantage of? If you hadn't been caught this time, how many more times would you have done it?" "I'll never do it again. I am truly sorry. Please." "All right. I'll give you a way out. You and your friend Stacy." She told Doug to call Stacy over to his room. A few minutes later, she arrived. "All right, both of you. I am giving you a chance to lift the curse. You must do 2 simple things for me." "Please." "Anything," said Doug. "First of all, you must volunteer 10 hours a week at the Women's Center. They provide health services for women on campus who can't afford health care on their own. They need lots of help. And I want you to both start contributing towards women." "How long do I need to do that for?" "As long as you are in school. I would hope that when you're done with school, you'd start providing financial aid for women's causes too. Just to show that you've really atoned for your past sins." They both put their heads down in shame. "If you do this, and the second thing I am about to tell you, then you can go back to who you used to be. Upon completion of the second task, you will have a choice. And when you wake up the next day, you will either be your current self, or your old self. I leave it up to you. I don't want to go back. I prefer being a woman," said Stacy. "Shush," said Doug. "Quit talking stupid." "It is her choice," said Irene. "Her choice," said Irene, having the final word. "What is our second task?" asked Doug, impatiently. "Because you did something to us, in an attempt to your wicked way. I am making your second task the following. You must have your wicked way with 20 different men on campus." "No. I'm not doing that with a man," said Doug. "Then you'll be a woman forever," replied Irene. Doug gasped in shock, but Stacy smiled. "What's so funny?" said Doug. "I'm already a quarter of the way there," she replied. "What? You've got and done the deed with 5 guys already?" "Yes. There are lots of hot studs here on campus." "Sick," said Doug. "Did you use protection?" asked Irene. "Well, no." "Then I hope you don't end up making a baby. Otherwise, you'll be a girl for the rest of your life." "I hope I do get pregnant," said Stacy. "Because then he'd have to marry me, and stay with me forever. And I'd have a little baby to raise. It would be so fun. I'd have a little family of my own." Doug looked like he wanted to throw up. How could Randy be so far gone that he was acting completely like a chick now? And how would he ever force himself to go through 20 guys? "I'm just going to kill myself," he mumbled. "Then you get to spend eternity as a girl," replied Irene. Doug looked up at her. He realized his dilemma. But what really scared him, perhaps more than anything, was knowing somewhere in his feelings he was going to enjoy the physical sensation. That crushed his mind, sending him reeling, as he tried his best to resist the feminine thoughts, feelings, desires and urges that his new body was experiencing. He had to fight it. He had to. So, there you go, said Irene. I'll let you go, and decide what you want to do. It is totally in your hands now. Goodbye, girls. See you in class. With that, she left the room, leaving Stacy to salivate over the thought of bagging more guys, and leaving Doug as he wrestled inside himself for control. I'm going to the bar on Main and 4th, said Stacy. There are lots of cute guys there, and they will buy you all the drinks you want. Come on, let us get you dressed up, and get us some guys. Doug looked up at her, his eyes red and bleary from all the crying. He had no choice. He had to go with her. He rose to go wash off his face, and let Stacy dress him up in her pretty clothes. He had lost everything now. His manhood, his self, and now control, as he put on a skirt for the first time in his life. He also felt something new inside. True remorse for what he had done. He would never do it again. Ever. He would fight to make sure other guys didn't make the same mistake as he had. It would become his mission in life. Irene had an important phone call to make now. To her mother. Oh Mom, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you before. You weren't trying to control my life. You were just trying to help and protect me. This week, I used magic. I know. I could sense it, replied her mother. But I was so mean to you, said Irene. Listen. When I was your age, I fought with my mother too. We were always at each other's throats. I swore I'd never be like her. I vowed that I would never become a sorceress. Over time, I saw the error of my ways. And I started to listen to you. Really? You think that you are the first generation to rebel against their mothers? But why didn't you tell me before, said Irene. You weren't ready to listen. I'm glad you learned your lesson on your own. And that nobody got hurt. Except the guys. They deserved what you did to them. You even gave them an out. If I had been cursing them as revenge for what they tried to do to you, they'd both be barefoot and pregnant by now. They laughed. Maybe Doug and Randy would wind up that way in the end.